More dismal polling numbers for President Biden just came out. This is a Gallup poll, and it shows 41% of Americans approve of the job that he's doing. With his slump among voters in his own party and among independents, we're seeing those numbers continue to be under quite a bit of pressure, and it's causing concern, obviously, among Democrats. That the president's unpopularity may weigh on the rest of the party in the midterms. In fact, former Democratic presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg out today with a warning for his own party. And he says that they are, quote, headed for a wipeout in November, up and down the ballot. That's from Michael Bloomberg. Power panel, Jack Brewer, commissioner on the Federal Commission of the Social Status of Black Men and Boys, and Jose Aristimuño, former DNC deputy press secretary. Great to have both of you with us today.
Thank you.
Jose, let me start with you, and let's put some of these numbers up here, some more numbers from this brand new Gallup poll, and it tested voters in the first part of February. It goes through the 17th of the month on key issues, including COVID response, foreign policy, and handling of the economy. You can see most of them are down double digits, 20 points in COVID response, about 16 in foreign affairs, and the economy is lower as well. Jose, what do you think about it? Do you agree with Michael Bloomberg here?
Look, I think he's got I partly agree with him. I think we got to go back to the kitchen table issues, Martha. We got to make sure that we continue talking about the economy, and we continue to talk about the deliverables that we've done, the things that we've executed on, the 6 million jobs that we've created. We continue the amount of Americans that we've vaccinated. We passed the infrastructure bill. Obviously, it takes time for the American people to see these things take place, come to life. So I understand the frustration. Obviously, inflation doesn't help. It's a global force that not only the United States is facing, but inflation is happening all across the world. But look, the buck ends with Joe Biden, and I understand that clearly, and we take responsibility. I think what helps Joe Biden is that we're still a few months away from the midterm election. And as you know, Martha, in politics, 6 months, it's a lifetime.
Very true. Very true. We could be looking at different situation with regard to COVID at that point. We're seeing a lot of the mask mandates roll back. But on the economy, Jack, the problem is that you've got inflation that many believe could be headed towards 10%. So the economy, it's going to be very tough to improve in this environment, especially given what's going on between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I'm actually surprised that the numbers are that high for Joe Biden. I just can't imagine 41% of Americans really approving of the disastrous job that he's done and to this economy. When you look across the job market, it's very difficult. You talk to almost any sector, they're having difficulty hiring people. That means that we're not preparing our workforce for what the needs of today are. And then when you start talking about inflation, I mean, you're really hitting the pocketbooks of the most underserved Americans. I mean, the gas prices to be able to surge at the levels that they have is unprecedented. I mean, this is the highest surge in over 40 years. And with an economy now that things come so quickly, we have deliveries, we have transportation, we have all of these resources. We should not be in such an inflationary environment with the technologies that we have today. And it's a direct reflection of the policies of this Biden administration. It's awful funny. I was just in Georgia, and I started to hear some of the Georgia candidates running on stopping inflation. And you start to look at what they did with the pipelines and how they essentially caused gas prices to just shoot through the roof for normal Americans. It really is sad, Martha. But I think there's going to be a reckoning, and people understand that pro-growth policies is what this country needs. It's why people move here. It's why people desire to be Americans. It's so that they can come here and actually work in an economy that allows them to thrive. And right now, government has taken over so many different sectors with all these regulations. And
I think it's going to be very tough to make the argument that we're doing all we can to open up the spigots and to make gas prices cheaper when we're closing down pipelines and closing down federal leases on land. So, sometimes events mean that you have to kind of change course, and we'll be waiting to see if the president decides that this is an opportune time to do exactly that, to make a difference in gas prices. I want to ask you guys a quick question before I let you go on the trucker convoys, because there's 3 different convoys that are expected to be making their way towards Washington, D.C. to protest the still existing COVID restrictions against them. Mayor Bowser has put the city on alert. She's beefing up security. The Pentagon has approved deployment of National Guard troops as well. Former Republican Congressman Bob Barr compared the situation to the protests in Canada, writing, "Lest Americans conclude that our constitutional republic is safe from such dictatorial actions, they should know that under existing laws, the president or a governor could take similar emergency action at any time. COVID has demonstrated this in spades. Jose, are we about to see a panic sort of lockdown in Washington, D.C. ahead of these truckers who are protesting some of the regulations that come with COVID?
Hopefully not. And look, first and foremost, I think Mayor Boucher is going to do anything she can to make sure that we protect citizens in Washington, we protect the nation's capital from violence. At the same time, obviously, we understand that these truckers have a right to peacefully assemble, and they should do so. And look, I understand people are frustrated and are tired of this mandate, but we have to let's go back to 2020 for a second, Martha. Over 1 million Americans died because of this pandemic. And if it were not for the vaccines, if it were not for the mass mandates across this country, a whole lot more Americans would have died today. So I understand people are frustrated. We're going into year 3 of this pandemic. It's unbelievable. But look, we see the numbers starting to go down. Some of these mask mandates are starting to roll back. So we gotta wait and see.
I hear you. We're in 2022 now, not 2020. Jack, I just have a quick 45 seconds left here. But most of these truckers are vaccinated. And that was the case in Canada. They just want to be able to have the freedom to make a personal decision. That's what they're all about.
That's right. I live in a state where we don't wear masks, and I think we're performing quite well. Actually, I got a message to the truckers. They could come down here to Parkland, Florida, and pick me up, and I will sit there and protest with them peacefully and respecting the law. But we need people to be able to voice their opinions. I mean, we watched in 2020 people burn up our streets and protest, and we didn't hear a lot of pushback on that. So I'm a big fan of these truckers and their rights. These are people that are hardworking, and they need their voices are the ones that need to be heard.
Running out of time. Thank you so much, Jack and Jose. Great to see you both.